Good morning, I'm Rabbi Elton from the Great Synagogue in Sydney, and welcome to our Tuesday morning learning. We continue to look at Mitzvot, a mitzvah of the Parsha of the week, the Torah portion of the week, through the lens of the Sefer HaChinuch. And let's have a look at the first mitzvah in Devarim, in the Parsha Devarim and also the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy. Shelo lemanos dayan she'eno chacham b'dinei haTorah, not to appoint a judge who is not expert in the laws of the Torah, even if he has other branches of wisdom which at his disposal. So he might be a very fine physicist or mathematician, or even might know a lot about, Jewish liturgy, or the Agadic, the homiletical elements of the rabbinic tradition, but he doesn't know the details of the law, and therefore he should not be appointed to be a dayan, to be a judge. This is what the Chinuch says. Shenimna based in Hagadol, or Rosh Galus, the Supreme Court, or the head of the community in the diaspora, are prevented. Shelo yamid dayan lishpot es ha'am, shelo lamad chachmas haTorah uveir mishpateha hayesharim v'hatzadikim. They can't appoint a judge to judge the people who has not learned the wisdom of the Torah and the explanation of its straight and righteous laws. Ve'afilu hayubo kama midos nichbados, even if he has many other virtuous qualities. Acha she'eno yodea uvaki b'chachmas haTorah, because he doesn't know the actual material necessary to make a proper judgment. Ein roi lemanaso dayan, therefore you can't appoint him. It's not appropriate to appoint him as a judge. V'yalzeh nema, and this is what the verse means when it says, Lo takiru fonim b'mishpat. Be not a respect of persons when it comes to justice. Don't be partial in justice. That's what it seems to mean. V'chein poshu zichron v'racha, but our sages explain it this way. Lo takiru fonim b'mishpat. Zeh hamamuna lahoshev dayanim. This refers to somebody who appoints the judges. Klomar she'elav ba as harazo. This is what it comes to warn you against. V'amru zichron v'racha, and our sages say, Shema somar ish ploni. It's to prevent you from saying, this person, this chap, is na'eh, he is handsome, or gibor, he's strong, or ashir, he's rich, or sheyodea b'chol lashon, he's a multilinguist. Oshivenu dayan, therefore I'm going to make him into a judge. L'chach lemar, therefore it says, lo takiru fanim b'mishpat. Be not a respecter of persons when it comes to justice, when it comes to deciding who is going to dispense justice. Lefisha nimsa mi zaker es hachayav u'mechayiv es zakai, because you're going to find that he's going to vindicate those who are in fact guilty, and he's going to convict those who are in fact innocent. V'lo mipnei shehu rasha, elo mipnei she'eno yodea. Not because he's a wicked person. He's not doing it deliberately, but he's going to make mistakes, and you're going to get all sorts of problems with justice. Sherish mitzvah zo, and the root of this mitzvah, says the Chinuch, niglehu lakol. Everyone understands this. It's not a difficult concept to understand. You shouldn't appoint an incompetent person to be a judge. Verno heges mitzvah zo, and this mitzvah applies, b'kol makom b'chol zman, in all places and all times, even today. V'over alzer umina dayan she'eno chacham, and somebody who transgresses this and appoints an incompetent judge, mechamas ashro, because he's rich, o tuv midosav, or he has fine qualities, or me'avaso oso, because you love him, or mechamas kavod krovav, or because he's got important relatives. B'Torah say he has failed to carry out a positive injunction of the Torah. Ba'anshu gadol ma'od, and the punishment is very great. Shekol onesh dinei sheker shiadin oso dayan meches ron yidiaso talui alav, because any time he makes an inaccurate judgment, this will be put to the discredit of the person who appointed him. Kihu hagoreim, because this person was the cause of all those improper judgments being passed. And now a broad application which makes it very relevant to today. Umiklal mitzvah zo, and within the ambit of this mitzvah, gam kein lefi hadomer, things which are similar to it. Shekol mishe beru oso b'nei kahal lemanos alehem m'munim l'shum inyan. This applies, in fact, to any choice of somebody to have a leadership role in the community for any purpose. Shiasim kol hashgachaso v'chol daso. It has to be done with full oversight and with full intelligence. Lamanos mehem haru'uyim vatovim aloso minui shakahal srichimoso. To make sure the person is fully and absolutely qualified to fulfill that role, because the community needs them to be competent and fitting. Velo yagur mipnei ish lemanos mi she'eno ra'ui. And there should be no excuse for appointing somebody who's not appropriate for the job. Amru chachamim, ami shehu ma'amid dayan she'eno hagun. And the sages say about somebody who appoints a judge who is not fitting, kilu heikim matseva. They're like somebody who has set up an idolatrous pillar. People used to worship pillars in the bad old days. So it's as though he set up a pillar. You set up this object for veneration, which is not deserving for veneration. Shneimar, as the verse says, Lo sakim lacha matseva. Do not set up for yourself an idolatrous column. Vimhu makom sheyesh bo tamid chachamim. And if you have a place where there are sages, amrshu ki'ilu nata ashera, and you appoint somebody who's inappropriate, it's like you planted an idolatrous tree. People also used to worship trees. You've heard of the sacred groves they used to have in Athens, for example. Shneimar, the verse says, Lo sita lacha ashera kolet echel mizbach Hashem elokecha. Do not plant for yourself an idolatrous tree, any tree at all, near to the altar of the Lord your God. V'od amru, and they further say, Shekol hamamaneh dayan mechamas ashra. Anyone who appoints a judge because that judge is rich. Alzesh nema, upon this it is said, Lo sasun iti Elohei chesed Elohei zahav. Don't appoint for me gods of silver and gods of gold. Now, Elohei, in more than one place, doesn't just mean gods, it means judges. So it's a kind of play on words. Don't appoint for me judges of silver and judges of gold. That's why you appointed them, because they got plenty of cash. I'm not interested in those. V'od herichu b'inyan ze amru, and they further said on this topic, Shedayan shenasan mamon kedei sheyismaneh dayan. Somebody who pays, gives a bribe in order to be appointed a judge. Asur la'amod mipanav. You cannot stand before him. You cannot go to his court and recognize his authority if he paid a bribe in order to be appointed a judge. Umekilin harbe b'chvodo, and you must be very light with his honor. You must behave disrespectfully towards him. V'amru alav, and they say about it, she'atalis she'mis atef bar, that the cloak in which he wraps himself, tiyeh be'einecha, should be to your eyes, k'mar da'as hachamor, like a donkey's saddle. You should look at him like a donkey. V'derech hachachamim harishonim, and the way of the original sages, she'borchin b'le his manos dayanim, they would always try and avoid being appointed judges, unless there was nobody in the area who was a greater scholar than them. They were so keen not to fall into this transgression of being an inappropriate judge, especially when there were other sages around, that they would really resist being appointed to the bench, and only when there was no alternative would they allow themselves to be made into a judge. And this applies, as the Chinuch says, to all communal offices. So if you appoint somebody as the president of your shul, or the president of the JCA, or the board of deputies, or any of the communal bodies, that is not appropriate for the job, and you did it because he's handsome or strong, and all our communal leaders are handsome and strong, but nevertheless, if that's the reason why they were appointed, then that's you are transgressing this law. You can only appoint somebody to a communal office who deserves it through the qualities which they bring, not their general qualities. They can be lovely guys or lovely women as well, but in fact the qualifications they have for that particular role and that particular job. Everyone have a good week, and look forward to learning with you next week.